The real estate industry is the world's single largest contributor to climate change. At Fifth Wall, we're on a mission to help the industry eradicate its carbon emissions and build to zero. Well, Luis, thank you so much for joining. Where are you coming in from?
I am today in Portugal, spending a couple of days here. So good to meet you again.
Nice to see you again. And obviously, we are so thrilled to have, Cosan as an investor in our climate tech fund and really looking forward to, doing so much more with you. But for those that aren't familiar with your business, can you just give people a broad overview of your organization?
Cosan is a Brazilian group, which we are invested in 4 different platforms of business. So we have a railroad and logistic business in Brazil, which is called Rumo, which is the largest railroad and operator. Then we have a gas and power business, which is under Compass, which is the name of the company, which has a gas distribution company. Then we have a company that is focused on lubricants and vehicle care, which is called Move, which we have the brand license of Mobile to distribute products in Brazil, Paraguay, Uruguay, Argentina, and Bolivia, and in France, Spain, Portugal, and UK, and also a small territory in the United States. And last but not least, we have Raízen, which is our joint venture with Shell. We just went public a couple of weeks ago as one of the largest IPOs in Brazil, which is a company that has a big base of renewables, so based on sugarcane, and all the use of its biomass to produce ethanol, sugar, bioenergy, biogas, pellets, and second generation ethanol. So we are over 70,000 people working in the different companies. And of course, we will continue to grow our business. All of them have a big role in decarbonizing not only ourselves, but our partners, our suppliers, and our customers. So all our companies offer a full suite of services and programs that are bringing customers down in terms of their emissions over their service we provide to them.
And obviously, it's such a broad and diverse and multifaceted business that you have. When you think about sustainability and broadly, decarbonizing your business and the role of your business in decarbonizing the economy, when did that first enter, your corporate ethos?
It's Brandon, because the company origins and foundation with our founder, Rubens Ometo Silveira Melo, was in sugarcane. So it's on the DNA being related to the field, sustainability, and all that journey. And that industry has done a big journey over the course of the last decades, right? So we have made big mechanization. So we have now 100% of our plantations, our cutting, our crops mechanized. So we extinguished completely several years ago the firing the sugarcane fields. This was the way that you would before you cut the cane. So also Cosan was one of the pioneers in Brazil in terms of ethanol production. So this came in the DNA. So over the, I would say, several years, we have been practicing that, improving that, but as the let's say the society and the world is paying attention to that. So of course we package that, we put even more focus on that. So say that journey has started a long ago, but over the course, I would say 6-7 years, we have put even more emphasis in one side in efficiency, because we truly believe doing more with less is a very sustainable way in everything. So using less fuel, using less materials is probably the best way to start, right? And the other is looking at other products and services that you can convert more emission-unfriendly products to more emission-friendly products.
And obviously, now it sounds like for you as a business, you've had sustainability and decarbonization and kind of the imperative to do more with less in your DNA as a business for the whole lifetime of Cosan. And I guess how and what role has technology played in that?
Yeah, I think there's a couple of dimensions, Brandon. I think one, for example, was the second generation ethanol that we started like 80 years ago. And during that time, there was a big boom, right? So everyone was looking to do the cellulosic thing. A lot of companies stay in the middle of this journey because these transformations are not something that you do overnight. And we have persisted adapting, learning, taking partners, changing the technology, improving the technology. And now we have a full-scale operation that we are now building additional plants to be able to fulfill the requirements and the demand in the marketplace. So I think one is to believe, right? So you have to have a dream and believe that that thing is possible and be persistent, because on the way, you're going to have a lot of stumbling blocks and a lot of diversions, a lot of things that you're going to learn and need to improve. Since a couple of years, we're starting to invest a lot on technology to move parts and things and people on a more efficient way. When we got to know you guys and Fifth Wall and the things you were doing in the real estate industry, but the connection of real estate with energy and infrastructure, it incentivizes us to go deeper. And then we are here today as one of investors from the fund.
You are our first investor from, the energy industry, really our first investor outside the real estate world. And we hope that, that consortium and the number of energy companies that are investing in kind of Fifth Wall's climate tech fund grows. But I'm curious from your perspective, when you look at Fifth Wall's fund, we're focused on decarbonizing the built environment. Like we're largely focused on the real estate industry and materials. How do you think the role of an energy company fits into that and being supportive and contributing to decarbonizing the built world?
I think that energy is everywhere, right? So it's that kind of industry that's really horizontal. And I think the roles of mobility, the roles of the fuels used to supply to the suppliers of the real estate, the fuels used at the real estate itself is a major part of the society, right? So when you look at you guys, what we like that you're not only looking at specifically the building, but you're looking at all the environment around, innovations that could come from the energy side, could come from the mobility side, could come from the infrastructure side. And we have been also over the course of the last few years thinking about all this role of the corporate venture, right? So the company's trying that type of investment and relationship with startups and other companies from inside the company. And what we learn on that's very tough for you to do that if you're not exposed on the day-to-day, what I call the network and environment that companies like yours and others, Brandon, are doing. So we thought it's much better to be closer to the fund and be able to see the deals and help in certain cases, even on the analysis of the deals, and in certain cases, even co-invest. So what struck us was the ability of the team inside Fifth Wall and inside the Clean Tech Fund to really be on top of what's happening on the intersection between the real estate industry, with the energy industry, with the mobility industry, and the infrastructure industry. It's where we sit, right? So, and a lot of our business derives from that connection. So we think there's a very important fit, and the energy industry is a very important decarbonizing avenue for the real estate and all the parts involved on it.
We view the real estate industry and the energy industry as being deeply intertwined. And this challenge of how do we decarbonize the economy is obviously intimately connected to real estate. But the stats that we oftentimes talk about are that real estate is 40% of CO2 emissions, it's 40% of energy consumption, and it's 40% of all raw materials consumption. If you just look at real estate on its own, you're missing the opportunity to develop more holistic decarbonization solutions. That you want to have a forward sustainability posture around new technologies, new solutions, adopting them, investing in them. And that's really exciting to see, because I think that kind of partnership between the real estate industry and the energy industry is going to be how we collectively mitigate the climate crisis.
What struck us and excited us about this relationship, Brandon, is that you have a lot of other corporate companies involved on your ecosystem, which I think it's very productive to exchange this model of having different companies with different perspectives, with a good governance and being led by a team of specialized people within the fund independently and taking the investment decisions are probably the best way to go forward in terms of this complex environment about selecting which ones will be the winners, right?
Yeah. And, on our side, we're obviously equally thrilled. And what I think Cosan represents is the first time a real estate firm, or certainly not exclusively real estate firm, has become a part of that consortium. And one of the things we want to do is bring energy players into that consortium. And so there are a lot of, I feel like, energy company CEOs that are considering, what is the role for our organization to play in decarbonizing the economy, decarbonizing my company specifically, but then also decarbonizing the built environment. What advice would you give them from how you thought about this? Like, how can they follow Cosan's leadership position?
I think the way to look at this, Brandon, it's if you get insulated in your industry, you're probably going to have an impact, but the real impact is around in industries that are like building blocks, right? Which is the infrastructure, which is the energy industry. They need really to reach out and work deeply with the users and the end users and the customers and the partners, because you are part of a full system. So I think the way to look at this is what impact I can do by myself, which we need to do our homework. So we need to reduce our scope 1, scope 2, and look at ways to work with our customer to reduce the scope 3. But what else can we do in terms of solving common problems that cannot be solved by only one part of the equation, right? Because it's when you look at simple example, heating or cooling of a building of infrastructure. Of course, you need to work hands in hands with the energy industry and see what's the best and more economical way and sustainable way to do that. I think for me, it's like looking at a city or a neighborhood and say it's about the people, the assets, and how people live and move it. And energy and infrastructure is an entire part for that. So I think the companies and a lot of great companies here that are doing incredible things, but it's thinking about that. And I think Fifth Wall can be a great instrument and a great vehicle for you to be part of something without having to be on the day-to-day of that tough operation, which is meeting the entrepreneurs, evaluating them, seeing what's the best way and connecting stuff, which we can benefit from this big ecosystem that you guys have developed.
Well, Luis, obviously we're so honored and so thrilled to have the opportunity to work together. I'm really excited for what Fifth Wall can do to support Cosan and what we can learn from you, and together how we can work to, decarbonize the whole economy, but specifically drive more collaboration between the real estate industry and the energy industry in reducing emissions and kind of moving towards a zero carbon future. So we are so thrilled to be working together.